football team.
Always gratifying to win. Great to do it in front of our fans.
Right now, there's no one doing it at a higher level than Bijan Robinson.
And here goes Bijan Robinson. 30. It's a foot race. 15, 10, 5. House call. Are you serious?
Feels good to be walking out of here with a victory against a good football team.
They almost gave it away, but they held on. They win on Monday Night Football, and the Rams, what's going on with them down the stretch after this loss to the Atlanta Falcons? It's unsportsmanlike on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app live right now over on ESPN2. He's Myron Metcalf and Courtney Cronin sitting in for Evan, Canty, and Michelle on this Tuesday morning. You can be a part of the Unsportsmanlike Nation. Dr. Colin on the Dr. Pepper line, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. You can also hit us up on the Unsportsmanlike feed at UnsportsESPN. This show, as always, presented by Progressive Insurance. I thought for a second there that the Falcons were going to do what every other team in the NFC South seems to have this penchant for doing, Myron, and that's blowing these fourth quarter leads. The game's 21-0 at one point, so they spot them 3 touchdowns, and then all of a sudden, the Rams come firing back fourth quarter, and not enough to hang on, not enough to overcome them for a win. Falcons hang on 27-24. And it doesn't mean much for them right now. But I have more questions today about the Los Angeles Rams and the current state of that team going into the postseason than I do anything else in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, the headline became the almost comeback. I mean, Puka Nacua almost caught that. I don't even know how he got a hand on that football. But to be in that position, I think, is the real question for a Rams team that facing a Falcons team that has certainly lost against lesser competition. So I'm surprised that they weren't more dominant, I think, in that matchup, and were even in that situation to begin with in the first place.
Yeah, so back-to-back losses for the Los Angeles Rams. Right now they're the 5 seed. They could go as low as the 6, depending on the outcome of what happens in Week 18. They've got Arizona back at home, and the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks will be playing. So a lot has to be determined by the outcome of those games. But back-to-back losses, one in overtime, one to the Atlanta Falcons, has the Rams not playing great football going into the postseason. I want to hear from Matthew Stafford, Rams quarterback, who had a pretty valiant effort despite this team losing and not being able to pull off the comeback in the fourth quarter. Here's Stafford after his 269-yard passing performance. Scoring surge happened when he threw that pass to Puka Nacua, the one that Myron was mentioning just moments ago, with 2:52 right ahead of the 2-minute warning. But I'm just coming back from the Bears and 49ers game that happened on Sunday Night Football. A wild, instant, classic, thriller, back-and-forth shootout game. And it was cool for me as someone who covers a team in the NFC North, a team that just locked up its division, to really get a chance to see how loaded that NFC West is right now, going into the postseason, where the 49ers are, where the Seahawks are, coming off their win against the Carolina Panthers, and then seeing what the Rams were not able to do. It's changed my opinion about the balance of power, Myron, in that division alone, thinking that at one time, I thought the Rams were the most complete team in the NFL, let alone in the NFC, in the whole league. Has that notion changed for you as well as you come off this Monday night loss that you saw last night?
It's changed for me just because I think the floor is lower than it should be. Obviously, no Devontae Adams. So I think, the Rams will get healthy in time for the postseason. But I just think this is a team that still has the highest ceiling in that group because of Matthew Stafford. But when he's forcing plays like that, when they're not 100%, you get a result against a Falcons team.
Into the postseason. Puka Nacua has been terrific. He was terrific in that game that they had against the overtime battle against the Seattle Seahawks 2 weeks ago. And he was good last night. He wasn't great. 5 catches, 47 yards, a touchdown, and certainly was not enough in the overall effort of this Rams team to try to come back and win. I guess as I try to figure this out, did last night teach you anything about their ability to come back in this game? Because we saw the overtime game against Seattle. They were right in that from start to finish, yet they weren't able to overcome capitalize on those Sam Darnold interceptions, even as well as their defense had played, to be able to pull out the game there. Does almost coming back here on the road, knowing that they're going to be going on the road in the first round of the playoffs, does that do anything for you in I guess how you'd size up the Rams as a playoff contender.
To me, I guess I worry about the teams that always find themselves in that situation. I think sometimes we look at teams in sort of these one-score battles and we see it as a strength. But the Rams are too good to be in that circumstance in the first place. You're playing Kirk Cousins in prime time. Once the sun goes down, we all know Kirk Cousins usually struggles. And here you are, defensively they didn't look great. You look at Matthew Stafford, who's throwing interceptions and just forcing passes all over the field. I think for me, I just wondered about a team that maybe has made that their identity. Like, hey, we can get out of any situation that we put ourselves in. I don't think that's the right attitude you want to have going into the postseason.
Yeah, and I know that the way that they played last night, the way they've played these last two games, is the reason that Sean McVay said, no question about it, starters will play in Week 18. Seeding is at stake here. Between the 5 and the 6, obviously it changes who you play in the first round, wild card weekend, but you want to be playing some good football. You want to get that bad taste out of your mouth, and he certainly had one following the game last night. Here's the head coach of the Rams on why his team was not able to get it done.
I wish I had an answer. I thought they had a good week of preparation. We just didn't have that bounce in our step and missing some guys, but it's no excuse. And so, we got to be able to figure it out. In a lot of instances, it comes back to, our collective. Are we putting our guys in the right sort of spots? And then ultimately, are we executing? And we'll look at it. But it wasn't good enough as a whole, and it starts with me. Okay,
so I think about the NFC playoff picture as it stands right now and the teams that you're confident about. Like, at one point, it was the Rams and then everybody else. Like, I didn't have much of a feeling towards Seattle, towards the San Francisco 49ers, towards even the Bears or the Philadelphia Eagles as being the truest of contenders when the Rams were at the top. The Rams have shown they're vulnerable, and the idea of playing your best football at this time of year to then carry over into the postseason cannot be said for the Rams. It cannot be said for the Green Bay Packers, who have now lost 3 straight. It really can't be said for the Philadelphia Eagles. They won by 1 point, and they've got their head coach puffing his chest out, screaming as he's going to the locker room in Nick Sirianni. Among those teams, and throw Tampa in there too, and the Carolina Panthers, because we know that the NFC South title is going to come down to the wire in Week 18. Who do you trust the most right now of these teams that seem to have hit a speed bump Week 16, Week 17 at the time where you should be playing your best football?
I don't trust any of them. Like, the NFC picture right now, to me, Courtney, feels like the 2014 NCAA tournament, right? You're waiting for somebody to get hot maybe in the NFC, because I don't know that any of these teams have really separated themselves, but probably Philly, only because they've done it before, and I think Philly can play that ugly style and still get wins. Like, Philly, to me, is one of those teams that can look bad, but when they get into the postseason, the way that they compete, the experience, I trust them more. But I don't think either of those teams